Hi, I'm Ben from Sundowner RV. Today I'm going to take you through the Hilltop Feathertop 17FT6 Handover. So we're going to run through how everything opens and shuts, how it basically works, and explain all the ins and outs. So come with me. We'll start off up the front here. Excuse me, Arlo, if you don't mean to disturb you, but right, not moving. So, in our tunnel boot, in here we've got our VIN plate. So that gives us our weights, tells us our maximum weight, our empty caravan weight. So it's important to know where it is and to know what your weights are, and make sure that you don't exceed what you're allowed to tow legally with your car. Now in the tunnel boot here we've got a light, which is switched on and off with the switch on the actual light. And we've also got another switch which is up on the ceiling, on the top of the boot, and that's turns on and off this light here over the tunnel boot. Right, so let's come around the front. Excuse me, Arlo, try not to stand on you. So come around the front. We've got two 9 kilo gas bottles, and the way that these are set up is that I've got a tap here in the middle, which is this green tap here. I'm not sure if you can see it or not, but I've got this green tap here. So the direction that that's facing is the bottle that we're actually using. So the way that we use it is we have it on one bottle. We use that bottle. When it's empty, we switch the tap across to the other bottle, and then we can take this one and get it filled whilst we're using the other bottle. Excuse me. Now, I would prefer to fill it rather than get a swap and go, and the reason being that not all gas bottles are the same size. Some are fatter, some are taller, and they don't necessarily fit in the cradle really well. So if you can get it refilled, that's generally preferable. On the side of the drawbar here, we've got our compliance plates for our gas and for our chassis. Jockey wheel, fairly self-explanatory. The important thing to note with the jockey wheel is when you're travelling, make sure you take it right off. I have seen some people think it's okay to just lift it up out of the way. It's not. It'll probably catch at some point if you do that. So completely remove it, put it in the tunnel boot or in the back of the car, and then put it back on when you're ready to use it. I've got the handbrake up here. So I've got these cables just onto the hitch there, which is good because it keeps them from dragging on the road. But if you can see the handbrake, it's lifted up, fairly self-explanatory. So that's handbrake off for travelling. When you park, before you unhitch from the car, put the handbrake on. Keep in mind, if you're on any sort of a significant incline at all, make sure that you also chock the wheels so that the caravan won't move. The handbrake will only hold so much. This is our standard 50mm ball hitch. So when you put it down onto the car, onto the back of the car, you've got to make sure that the hitch is clipped in there. Really important. And when you're ready to take it off, lift up there and it will just lift off the ball. So that's something I always like to check before I go. After I've got everything on the car, set up, ready to go, just make sure I've remembered to clip that down. If you don't, what will happen is you'll go over a bump and the caravan and the car are going to separate. Now you'll have your safety chains on anyway. Nothing terrible should happen, but it's a pain to get it back on and it's embarrassing. Safety chains are here. So the safety chains have these hooks here for when you're parked. So just get that out of the way. So they just hook onto there, and then they connect onto your tow bar. When you connect them up, make sure you cross them over so that if the car and the caravan do separate, the hitch lands on the chains rather than all the way onto the ground. All right. Chains have to have enough slack in them so that you don't catch going around corners, but also we don't want them dragging on the road. So just work out whichever link sits nicely. Quick look at the cables. So what we've got up the front here is, all right, so we've got, that's our main trailer cable plug. So that's a 12-pin flat plug. We're only using these top 7 pins. So the bottom 5 big ones are blank on here. So that's normal trailer wiring. Then we've got our Anderson plug. Now our Anderson plug is to run the fridge while we're driving and to charge the battery while we're driving. So that needs to be an Anderson plug on the car, and we want it to turn off, power off, when the car's ignition is off. And the reason for that is that otherwise, if you're going on your trip and you pull over to have some lunch, come back to the car a couple of hours later, if the power's still going from the car through here, you may come back to the car and have a flat battery. So that's up to the auto electrician We can set the car up for you if you want, or your auto electrician can do it, but just make sure when the car's off there's no power coming through the Anderson. And that's our Safety Dave camera cable, so that just plugs into the corresponding plug or socket on the back of the car, and I use that as my rear view mirror, so I have it on while I'm travelling, and then I can see what's going on behind me at the back of the Caravan. Last cable here, this is the breakaway switch. So just here is a pin. Oops, actually was pulled out. So that's the in position. Now this needs to attach to the car. Generally speaking, there isn't anywhere specific to attach it to, so I normally put it on one of the shackles. It's good to probably put it through here so it can't drag on the road, keeps it up high, and then onto the shackle. The point of it is that if the car and the Caravan separate, the cable will be pulled, this pin will come out, and then the brakes will be activated. And the brakes are operated by the Caravan's battery, the house battery, and hopefully the plan is that they'll stop the Caravan so it doesn't go careening off down the road or across onto the other side of the road. Alright. Lastly, on the drawbar we've got the tap, so that's for water out. Now if you've got the hose connected to the Caravan, that'll be water from the hose coming through to the tap. If you're free camping and you're using the water from the tanks, that means you'll have the pump on, then you'll be getting water from the tanks coming up there. So it's great for washing sand off your feet, filling up the kettle, things like that. It's very handy. Alright, coming around here, that's our tunnel boot, the other side. Now I should show you, that's a tunnel boot there that goes right through. I'll grab the winder out for the leg. Now before we do the leg winder, I'll just show you the locks and how we've set these up. So this is all the Thetford doors, which are all these boot doors. They all work off this one round black key. So that's for these doors. And they're really simple. Key goes into the lock, it's a quarter turn, so that it's now vertical. And now the door's locked. And to unlock, it's just the opposite, get them back up to straight. And the way to simply to open these doors, they're what they call a positive pressure catch, is fingers up here and thumbs on the locks. And then it opens really easily. So it might take a little bit of practice, but once you've done it a couple of times, it's really simple. While we're here, let's have a look at the stabiliser legs. Now, when you get to a spot where you're going to go caravanning, it's important to get the Caravan level so that the fridge will work properly and so that it's comfortable to be in. There's nothing worse than trying to sleep and your head's down instead of up, or you're on an angle like that. So I do want to get the Caravan level. Now the way that I do that is I use the jockey wheel to go up and down for my forward and backwards level. And the simple way for your sideways level is take a levelling ramp with you and either back or pull the Caravan onto the ramp just to the height that you need to get the Caravan level. Once the Caravan's level, then we put the stabiliser legs down. Now I'll show you how these work. They're very simple. We've got the winder here. That just goes onto this nut here. And we'll just line it up first. So for travelling, of course, it goes up there out of the way. So when you arrive, Caravan's level, drop the leg down. Now, ideally, have it in the vertical position, but it's not necessary. You can have the leg up like that, because you might have a mound here, it might be higher on one side, lower on the other side. It doesn't need to be straight down. Get it into the best position you can, as vertical as you can, and then just wind it down so that you've got pressure down to stop the Caravan from rocking. So just like that. So they're not for lifting, they are for stabilising. So you need pressure down, but don't go crazy with it. The one big thing not to use on them is an impact driver. You'll find impact drivers will actually break the gears in the stabiliser legs. You can use a drill, although I find it's just as easy to use the winder. No great benefit from the drill. Right, keeping on going around the outside. That's our 240 volts in, so any 15 amp 240 volt cable will work for that. That's our water filler. Now the way that we're set up with the water tanks, we've got two 95 litre tanks. We fill through this one point to a T-piece, so it fills both the tanks together. And then when we draw out, we're also drawing out from a T-piece. So the level in the tanks is pretty much, as long as the Caravan's level, will be pretty much level all the time between the two. On this particular van, we've got the tanks set up one in front of the axle, one behind the axle. So regardless of your water level, you're not going to get much variation in your ball weight, which is important. This is our Swift 28 litre gas electric hot water service. There's no sacrificial anode, so there's no reason to take the cover off unless it's for service or repairs. So that would be a maintenance job, not a user do thing at all. So nothing to do with that. Our light up the top there, so that's switched from the switches inside on this side of the van, which we'll have a look at when we go inside. Having a look down here, this is important. If you do get a flat tyre, you need to change the wheel. That's where you put the jack. So the jack clamps into there, or just hooks into there, and we lift the side of the caravan up. As with a car tyre, if you get a flat, the right way to change the tyre is loosen the wheel nuts while it's on the ground, jack it up, then take the nuts right off, wheel off, new wheel on, tighten them up, drop it down, and then tighten them up properly, really hard. We don't try and tighten them while it's on the jack, because you can push it off the jack. That's the reason. Right, just here, that's our water inlet. So if you want to use mains water, if you're at a caravan park, water connects to there. Just here is our battery. So that's a maintenance-free AGM battery. There's nothing to do with it other than at some point in the future it may need to be replaced. The other things to be aware of, under here, just here, if you can see, I don't know if you can see from there, just there we've got our Anderson plug, so that's for portable solar to connect to. Now that goes directly to the battery, so if you are going to use a portable solar panel, you must have a solar controller on it, so you don't overcharge the battery. Next to that, just here we've got our 50 amp 12 volt breaker. So that is actually a circuit breaker, so that if there is a short somewhere in the caravan, you won't get a fire, you won't cause any damage. That breaker will actually pop. So if you find for some unexplainable reason you've got no 12 volt power in your caravan at all, check that breaker under there. It just pops out and squeezes back in. You can always give me a call if you're not sure and I can talk you through it. It's quite simple, but just be aware that it is there. It's unusual that that would pop, but it can happen. Just there's our grey water outlet. So caravans are supplied with a grey water hose and they just push onto the grey water outlet there. So that's simple, and that would be for a caravan park normally, and you would run it off either to the drain, or sometimes they want you to let the water go just on the ground and just run the hose off to wherever you want the water to go. Alright, I've just realised there's one thing I've forgotten, so let's back up a little bit, and that's our water tank filler cap. We can have a look at that. So just so that you know, it's a bit like an old-fashioned petrol tank cap. So that's the small silver key. So when the cap's locked, it actually spins. You might think when it's locked it won't turn, but it actually spins, but it doesn't open. So to unlock it, to take it out, it's just a quarter turn, and then you find it actually unscrews. Now, when you do go to fill the tanks, just keep in mind it's 190 litres, so it's quite a lot of water. You can't have the hose on too hard, because if you do, you'll find the water just comes back at you. So probably about, from empty, it's probably about 15 minutes to fill the tanks. Just let it run in. When it is full, it will start to come back out here, and also there is an overflow on each of the tanks, so you also notice a little bit of water starting to come out from the top of the tanks through a little overflow hose, which you can have a look at underneath. So put it back on once it's done, just do it up, quarter turn back to where it was, and that's it, the water tank filler is locked. I didn't talk about these, that's your vents behind your fridge. There's nothing to do with these. If you do need to remove them, they've got catches up in the top here, and we've also got screws here just to make sure that they can't pull out or fall out from trucks or bumps or whatever. Down here, I think we've already talked about, that's the water inlet and the battery, grey water outlet. I do want to spend a little bit of time having a look at the toilet cassette. So, toilet cassette door has the same key as the boot doors, the round Thetford key, and so that's the same thing, only on one side. That's now locked. Why would you want to lock your toilet cassette door, you may well ask? You know the answer, so people don't steal your shit. Boom, boom. Suddenly we've got a ray of sunshine on us right here. All right, let's move out of that very bright sun. So this is the Thetford toilet cassette. The way this works is when you slide it into the compartment there, which is the underneath of the toilet, this door actually opens. So when it's in, it's like that. Now on the bottom of the toilet, or the front of the toilet, and I'll show you this when we go inside, there's a lever that you can move backwards and forwards. So when you move the lever, that opens that door, and then you close it again. I strongly recommend, when you're not using the toilet, keep it in the closed position. 2 reasons. One, it contains smells and everything else in there. The other reason is, if you forget to close it and you go off on your travels, driving around, you can have everything from here splashing out of the cassette, and then it ends up in here, and then that's a cleaning job for you, rubber gloves and the sponge. There is a door on the bottom here if you do want to clean this out. That just comes out. That's there because there is a model with a fan in it. This doesn't have a fan in it, but you need to remove that if you do want to clean it properly. And that just pulls out and pushes back in. Alright, back to the cassette. So when you pull it out, because it's full, you'll know it's full because there's a little red light on the top of the toilet where you flush it there, and we'll look at that inside. So that'll tell you if it's nearly full. When it is, you need to come out, remove the cassette, take it to a dump point. Now it's quite heavy when it's full because it holds about 20 litres plus the cassette. So it's got this handle and it's got wheels. So you can wheel it to the dump point, which might seem a bit weird, but actually works really, really well. And everybody's got them in their caravans. So that's for wheeling. Now to empty it, normally you have the cap on there. That's in the toilet at the moment because it's brand new. Once you fill it, the cap always stays on there, except for when you're emptying it. So the cap is used for measuring. So you measure a cap full of the chemical, which is either blue or green. I use the green, that's the more environmentally friendly one. And you can either put it in through there or through the hole there. Put in a bit of water. I think meant to put 2 litres in. I don't measure it, I just put some water in. Cap back on, it goes back in. To empty it, cap comes off. Take it to the dump point. They're normally clean. They've got a hose there for rinsing. Open the lid on the dump point, which is generally like a wheelie bin lid, but sometimes they have screw caps and different things. Tip it up. That button there, that lets air into the cassette while you're emptying it. So that's the point of it. It just empties better if you push that button in. So that empties that way. Give it a rinse out. Chemical in. Bit of water in. Cap back on. And back in it goes. Slides in, and this orange handle there locks it in so it can't move. Close your door, and we're all done. So that's this side of the van. Let's come around the back. So spare wheel, that's exactly the same wheel as the other wheels on the Caravan. Safety day with your camera, there's nothing that you need to do with that. Jerry can holder, the important thing to say about the jerry can holder is that you're allowed to carry water or diesel fuel on the back. You're not allowed to carry petrol or gas for safety reasons. Cable there, that goes through the top of the jerry can, through the handle, and then you can padlock it onto there. Stop people stealing your jerry can. That is a vent at the back of the shower, and the main purpose of that is that if you need to access the back of the taps, the hose connections and things behind the shower, that's how you can access it. So it's not something you would normally have anything to do with, but that's why it's there. Alright, let's come back round to the door side of the van. So around here we've got our awning. I'm not going to do a full roll out of the awning. We're in the showroom, we haven't quite got room to open it up, and we have got a whole video on our website which shows fully putting the awning out, putting it in, how it all works. The important things to remember, you've got clips here. They must be locked before you're travelling to make sure the awning can't come out, and the latch up the top must be in the rolled up position, so that again that's another catch to stop the awning being able to open whilst you're travelling. Right, moving on, we've got external speakers. Now the speakers, they're controlled by the stereo inside. There's a fade front function, which is fading front to rear. Front to rear is inside to outside, and I'll show you how that works on the stereo when we go inside. The picnic table, very simple. Just pull down those 2 catches to open, and then we've got a light just there. There's a switch and the light in the top there, which is awesome for night time. Up here, I've got 2 USB charging points. So they're perfect for charging your phone or your iPad on the picnic table out here. I've got 12 volt power here, which is great for the TV, or you might want to use it for your laptop or whatever. And in the middle, I've got the antenna connection. So that's actually got a dust cap on it. stop the dirt going in. So you can put the TV out here on the picnic table if you want. You've also got a 240 volt outlet right here. Now that's perfect for plugging in the kettle or the toaster, or if you want to run the TV off the 240, and we'll be done off there. To put the picnic table away, we just lift up the two sides and click it back in like that. I left the light on, didn't I? So light off and clip it back in. Before travelling, when you do your walk around the van to check everything, make sure that they're properly clipped in, because you don't want it flopping open while you're driving. Same as the other side, that's our jacking point if we do have to change the tyre. The door. So these are really awesome doors. So to close them, you can just push them, but I prefer to lift up the handle and close it. And then the key for this one is the, show you that there? So that's the oval shaped door key. So you know it's really different from the other one because it's an oval rather than round. So to lock the door, key goes in and it's a quarter of a turn. Have to make sure it's properly closed that way. And then you'll see that the handle is in flush. So flush flat is the lock position. To open, key goes in, quarter of a turn and key out. So now it's very obvious that the door is unlocked. So the door doesn't bang around in the wind, if you want it open, we just hook onto that hook there, and there it is, secure there. To separate the two doors, so you've got the main outside door and then you've got the wired mesh door, we use these two levers like that and separate. And then we've got our security mesh door, and you can have really good airflow but still have security either if you're in the van or if you go away from the van for a little bit and you want to leave it open for airflow, you could actually have it closed just like that as well. It's nice and secure. Opens like that. To put the two back together, just squeeze them back together. And I'll just hook that back onto there. We've got a blind up here, so that's self-explanatory. That's just a roller blind up and down. And if we come around here, we've got, turn those off, probably better for the video. We've got a light in the handle and we've got a light around the step. Now those are controlled by this red button here. Of course, on this one it's not red, it's green. This little button here, which in this case is green, turns the light on and off. Simple. Step just goes in like that, pulls out like that. What else have we got? One last thing on the outside. So last thing is our gas bayonet. So our gas bayonet is right here. This one's missing the dust cap, so we'll have to find one for it. That's for plugging in a barbecue. Keep in mind that there's a regulator between the gas bottles and this gas bayonet fitting, so you won't need another regulator on the barbecue. So you need a bayonet hose or a hose with a bayonet fitting on it and no regulator. Now, being careful not to stand on Arlo, I shall take you inside the van and let's have a look around this beautiful inside. 17FT6 Feathertop. This one's in our showroom, so Gabby's got it beautifully decorated. I'll try not to mess it up too much. I'm going to turn off these hatch lights so it's a bit better lighting for the video. Alright, I'm going to start over here at the door. I'm going to work my way around and we'll try and cover everything as we go. So over here we've got the 4 switches. So these switches are, one is our middle lights over the bed, 2 is our middle lights in the middle of the caravan, 3 is our outside lights under the awning, and 4 is our middle lights in the ensuite or bathroom area. I should point out, and I'm going to get you to come back all the way around here for a moment because I've missed something as I've come in, and we've got a switch just down here by the door. So that switch there, you can probably see it's gone dark. That turns off all your 12 volt power to the caravan. It won't turn off the power to the fridge control panel, so that will still work. And it doesn't turn off the water pump, that's directly to the battery. So you've got to make sure that that is off. But all your lights, TV, radio, everything will be turned off with that switch. So that's really handy. And the other thing that I didn't point out, and I think it's really, really important, is the fire extinguisher. So the fire extinguisher is just up here next to the door. You do want to know where it is. You do want to know how to get it out if you need it in a hurry. So it's very simple. It unclips out of there and then it pulls out like that. And then you've got a pin just here that pulls out, and then point and squeeze at the fire. And keep in mind, you probably will never use it, hopefully you will never need it, but if you do need it, knowing how to get it out, how to use it, what to do with it, can make all the difference between a small, not significant fire to a really bad outcome. And it is really a matter of seconds in terms of, you know, how bad the result will be. Let's get that back into its position up here and clip it back in. There we go, so that's in. The other thing related to that is the smoke alarm. So the smoke alarm is up here. It's a 9-volt battery alarm. We insist it must be changed at least once every 12 months. It's really important. Unlike at home, if you're not using the Caravan for a period of time, you may not hear if the battery's going flat because you might not be using the Caravan, and then you'll come back in, you won't even know that it's gone flat. So every 12 months, we always change the battery when we service the Caravan. It's really important that that is done. That's probably the most important thing in the service, is the smoke alarm battery from a safety point of view. And then of course all the other service items. Moving around, let's have a quick look at how this window works. So this is the Ranger window. So it's got flyway that pulls down, and it's got a block out blind that pulls up. Now these are magnetic, so just pull them to separate them. You can have it anywhere in between. You can have some privacy, still have some airflow, or have it all the way up or all the way down. It's not really critical whether they're open or closed when travelling. I prefer to have them open when travelling. There's less chance of dirt and dust going on them, but it's not that big a deal. On the roof hatches it is important, and we'll talk about that further in a minute. Now the window itself, the way that works, it's got latches all the way around. So that's how we open them. And then you can open it to any position you want and lock them in with these knobs here. And that wind blows, whatever, it's secure, it's not going anywhere. To close it, just loosen the knobs, bring it back down, and keep in mind, one of the things that's important to check before travelling is that all the latches on all of the windows are closed, because we don't want them coming open whilst travelling. So that keeps it dust proof as well, so it actually squashes it up closed. Next to the bed here, I've got 2 USB points, so perfect for charging your phone or iPad. I like to have my phone next to the bed there. Down here we've got a drawer. For me that's socks and jocks, perfect for that sort of thing, but it's actually a lot of storage space. That's a really good space. And you've got a small cupboard down the bottom there, which it's only about that deep because you've got the tunnel built through underneath. Storage up here, so that's hanging space or whatever you want to put in there. Reading lights, they're pretty self-explanatory, just on and off. And same, that's all self-explanatory, cupboards up there. Let's go around the other side of the bed. So around this side of the bed, same thing, we've got 2 USB charging points. Over here I've got switches. Now these switches are actually 2-way switches for the lights in the middle of the Caravan. So they work with the one, same as the ones next to the door, that turn on and off the middle lights. Up here, that's our 240 volt breaker. So first thing to check, if you think you haven't got 240 volts coming into the Caravan, is make sure that's not in the down position. So that's now no 240 volts coming in. The way that I would know is I would have a look at the microwave and see if there's any lights on. Are there any lights on at the moment on the microwave?
No.
No lights on down there. So check. Oh yes, my circuit breaker's tripped. Right, turn it back on. You can hear things are coming back on. So now I've got 240 volts coming into the Caravan again. If that isn't tripped and you've got no 240 volts, next thing I'd be checking is to make sure that my power cord is plugged in properly. And if that is, then next thing I'd be checking is going back to the pole where it's plugged in at the other end and seeing if there's a breaker there that's tripped. If that doesn't sort it out, probably next best thing is give us a call and we'll see if we can diagnose what's going on. Down here we've got the TV bracket, so that's designed so that can face to the bed or face over there towards the lounge. It's important to take the TV off the bracket when travelling. So at the moment the TV is under the bed. When you're using the Caravan, or what I normally do, unplug the TV, lift it off there and just put it at the front of the bed under the pillow, and I find it doesn't go anywhere. You get there, it's all in good condition. If you leave it on there, it can be bouncing around, it can bang, it can damage. So take it off, it only takes a minute, and put it up there on the bed. And that way you don't need to worry about locking the bracket. Oh, interesting, that's the cover from where the cords come through. I'll look at that in a moment. These are our cords for the TV, so they're cable tied up at the moment, but normally you'll take those cable ties off. You've got 3 plugs on here, so that's your 12 volt power that goes into the bottom of the TV. That's your antenna, so if you want to watch free to air TV, that plugs in on the side, and that is your video cable from the stereo. So if you want to watch a movie from the stereo, you plug that one in into the yellow input on the TV, and then you can watch movies. Now, all of that, how it all works, it's all explained in our user manual, which Gemma's made up in a simple, easy to understand version. So it's there. We have also got all the manuals for all the appliances in here, but you'll find that the one that Gemma's made up just does the important features. It's a little bit easier to find things in. Up here, that's our TV antenna, so our wing guard. So the way that works is to put the antenna up, just wind it like this, all the way until it stops. If you have a look up through the hatch, you might even be able to see it through there.
Yeah.
So that's our TV antenna. Now I'm going to show you how it turns, and then I'll show you down here. So can you see it turning there? So that's the TV antenna actually moving. Now what you do when you arrive somewhere, you do need to face it to the right direction to get the best signal. And the easiest way to work out which way to face it is have a look at which way everyone else is facing their antenna and put yours the same way. And the way that you turn it is you pull down and you turn that ring there. So, okay, that's my good signal. Now I go to my TV, I press the tune button, because everywhere I go you have to retune the TV because the TV stations are on different frequencies. So tune it in, now I've got my TV. Now when it's time to leave, before I wind the antenna down, I've got to get it back facing the right way. And the way I do that is pull down, and this arrow here has to match up with this arrow over here. So I turn it around until my arrows are matching up. Not quite. Can't quite see from this side. There we go. So arrows are lined up, and then all I do is wind all the way, keep going until the winder stops, and there it is all the way down on the roof, ready to go. What have we got up here? So this is that's a storage cupboard. Let's keep moving around, see what else we can find. Right, so this cupboard's got a lot in it, it's important. That's our solar controller. So there's nothing you need to do with that. That's actually controlling the power coming from the solar panels to the batteries and from the car to the batteries. It'll stop the batteries from overcharging, and it will also stop them from getting too low in voltage, which can also damage them. So really important thing, but nothing that you need to actually do anything with. Up here is our booster for our antenna. So that's the power for the TV there, and that's the antenna there. And that little switch there turns the booster on. So if that little green light there isn't on, you won't get any signal from your antenna. So I leave that on all the time. It hardly uses any power, and don't worry about turning it off. But if you're not getting any signal, just check that it is turned on. Over here, that's our video cable for picture from our stereo to our TV. I'll have a look. Over here's our water gauge. So push that, you can see our tanks are empty, it's on red. So because our tanks are always level, we're filling to both tanks through a T-piece and emptying from a T-piece, we've got the one gauge, and that tells us our level in both tanks. Underneath here, we've got the hot water service connections. Now the first thing you should do when you arrive is either turn on the pump, which is that far right one, or plug in the hose and connect the hose. So it's one or the other, pump or hose, not both. If you do both, you'll find they fight each other and not much water comes through. So we want to either have one or the other going first, and if it's the pump, I want it to run until it turns off. It'll turn off when the whole system comes up to pressure. Now if my hot water service isn't full, it'll run until it fills up the hot water service. Only when it stops and I know that my hot water service is full can I turn the hot water service on. So if I'm at a caravan park, I'm plugged into 240 volts, I'm going to use the hot water electric, the one in the middle. And if I'm free camping, no 240 volts, I'm going to use the gas hot water. Now when I turn the gas one on, that red light will flash while it's trying to light. Once it's lit, the light will stay on a constant orange. and then once it gets up to temperature and the flame turns off, the light will actually go off. So that's normal function for it. Last thing in this cupboard is our 12 volt fuses. So I'm just going to sneak my hand in here. So that's got a cover on the box there. Now the way these fuses are set up is that if I blow a fuse, so there, can you see that there? That's a normal car 10 amp fuse. If you blow a fuse, then you'll actually, the light on the fuse that's blown will come on. When you put it back on, the light will go off. So you know straight away which fuse is blown. So really simple. And then the cover just goes back on. Right, moving on. So that's just storage in there. Let's have a look at the stereo. So main function with the stereo, on and off. So let's turn it off. Okay, so goodbye. So to turn it on, this button here, hold it. Gives me a nice welcome. It's a car stereo, so you can program in the stations by holding the buttons. You will need to retune it everywhere you go, like the TV, because different places, the different stations are on different frequencies. The important button is this one here. So by pushing this, I can change through till I get to fade, and then fade will be front, which will be inside, and rear, which will be outside. So, and 0 will be half and half. Alright, so let's put it back to all inside. It does have Bluetooth function, so you can connect your phone to it. I won't go into all of that detail now. It has got a DVD player there, and it has got USB input there, so you can play music or movies from a USB stick or hard drive, and there's quite a lot of options there. Under the bench, under the cupboards here, we've got the light for the sink. So that's got one touch turns it on half, and a second touch turns it on full, and a third touch turns it off. Range hood, it's pretty self-explanatory. You've got a light, which is great if you're using the stove. You can turn the fan up to 1, 2, or 3. 1, 2, 3. Does have 3, or off over here. These switches here, actually quite simple. Looks like we've got so many switches, don't know what to do. But these ones do the bulkhead or the edge lights around the ceiling. So that one there, that's the ones over the bed. That one is the ones behind me. The middle one is the ones just above us. This one, bottom one here, is the ensuite edge lights. And this one here is the outside light on that side of the Caravan. The cooker, so it's the Swift. It's got 3 gas and 1 electric burner. You need to have 2 40 volts plugged in to be able to use the electric plate, and then you've got the 3 gas. Now the way these works, really the same as a home one. Push in and turn. We don't have gas in the bottles on this at the moment, so I can't actually light it, but push in and turn, hold it in while you do the clicker to light it, and you'll need to hold it in for 5 to 10 seconds while it gets hot, and then it will stay on. It has a thermocouple switch for safety, which means that if it's not hot, the gas actually will stop coming through. That's why you have to hold it in. Grill works the same way, so that's under there, light it the same way, and oven underneath there. The oven is fan forced. You do need 240 volts for the fan to work. From personal experience, they work really well without the fan as well. We've used them free camping quite a lot, so both with or without the fan, they actually cook your veggies really well. Leaves veggies in the oven, meat gets done outside. Okay, the fridge. So this is a Thetford 3-way automatic sensing fridge. We've got a very simple guide on how to use it in our user manual. I'll run through it quickly. So to turn it on and off, we just hold this button here until the lights come on. Now this is telling me here that it's on automatic and it's currently running off 240 volts and it's on maximum cold. If I want to change the function, all I do is hold the grey button until it flashes, and now I can use the arrows to move across. So if I want it to work only on gas, for example, I'll go across to gas and I'll push the grey button again. Now I can change the temperature setting, so I'm going to make that halfway, push it one more time, and now I'm set. So now what it's telling me is that it's working on gas and that it's set at half temperature cold. At the moment there must be a little bit of gas in the line because it's actually telling me it's working on gas, and I know I haven't got gas in the bottles. So in a minute, it might be a few minutes, but it'll start flashing. So if it starts flashing, that'll be telling me it's trying to work on gas, but it's not actually working. What I'm going to do now is put it back onto automatic. So once again, hold the grey button in until it starts flashing. Move the light across to automatic. Push the grey button again. Temperature, I'm happy with that, so I'll leave it as it is. So push it again, and now we're on automatic, and we're working on 240 volts. So it's as simple as that. It's really straightforward. What will happen now, because it's on automatic, I'll just turn it off so I don't forget. So when it's on automatic, what's going to happen is, if 240 volts is plugged into the Caravan, it will take that as its power source. If that's not available, it will look for 12 volts, which would be from the car through the Anderson plug. And if that's not available, it will go to the gas. Now, keep in mind one thing. To work on gas, it has to be stationary for at least 15 minutes. The fridge has a movement sensor in it, and the reason is so that you can't use it while you're travelling. You're not allowed to. So it won't work until it's actually been stationary for 15 minutes, and then it will come on by itself on gas. Alright, that's the fridge. To open it, just push up that little lever and open, and then it's just like a fridge with a freezer up the top and a fridge down the bottom. The first thing that will get cold when you turn it on will be the bottom of the fridge. So if you want to check if it's working, if it's coming on, put your hand on the bottom of the freezer, I should say, not fridge. Hand on the bottom of the freezer, and you'll find it gets cold reasonably quickly. On gas, it does take a little while to cool down, especially if it's a hot day, but it works really, really well. Microwave, that's just a microwave. As far as I know, it works like a microwave. I've got no special instructions for that, so you'll figure that out. Into the bathroom. So let's have a look at the door before we do the toilet. So for the door, we've got two catches. We've got one at the back here, which is a cabin hook, and we've got one down at the floor here, which is to stop it sliding. So when you're travelling, it's important that that one down the bottom's locked and that the cabin hook at the back's on. When you're parked and the Caravan's level, as it is, and you can see the door wasn't moving without either of the catches on, you don't need to have them on. You just need to have them on when you're travelling. One, it stops it sliding and also stops it tipping, which means when you get there everything will be where it should be. Right, the toilet. So the toilet is the Thetford ceramic bowl toilet. First thing, the grey cap that I was talking about for the cassette, that's it there, and that's a starter bottle of the chemical. That's the blue one. As I said, I use the green one. You can use whichever one, it's not an issue. The toilet bowl, I'm going to just swivel it around. These are made so they can actually turn in. I just swivel it around so it's easy to see the lever. So that there is the lever for opening and closing the cassette. So when I open it, as you can see, that's the cassette open. Slide the lever back across, that's closed. Keep in mind, if it's open, the cassette won't come out. So if you go outside and you find you can't get the cassette out, don't force it. You'll probably break it if you do. Come back inside, check that it's closed, and it's got to be fully closed. Go back outside and you'll find that it opens, or it comes out no problem. So in here, no great benefit in swiveling it other than maybe a little bit more space in the bathroom, but it has that function. Now to flush it, you just push the blue button up the top there, and it will keep flushing as long as you hold the button in. So it doesn't have its own water tank for flushing, it's plumbed into the whole Caravan's water. So you have to have either the pump on or the hose connected for pressure to flush the toilet. Just here, there's a little red light that will come on when the cassette's getting full, and then you'll know it needs to be emptied. Up here, over the toilet, we've got our reading light. That's what you like to do, or you might want it for shaving, I don't know. 12 volt and 2 USB points for charging or shaver or whatever you use. I'm just going to pop that back in the toilet. So that's there. Storage shelves there. Same as in the kitchen, we've got our touch light over the basin. We've just got storage underneath. So that's all just storage cupboards. And then our shower. I should show you the hatch. I'll show you actually over the toilet. It's easier than over the shower. So I've turned off the lights so you can see it clearly, but it's got these extra lights there. And then to open the hatch, turn it that way. Now the fan can actually blow in or out. So minus is air sucking out, which is how you would normally use it, and plus is air coming in, blowing into the Caravan if you want to blow air in for ventilation. And that's off. Now that will work with the lid down. It's actually got channels through so the air can still get exhausted out or sucked in with the lid down. So if it's raining, you can still use it. Right, let's have a look at the shower. So the shower, it's just like a shower really when you look at it. So it's the same hatch as over the toilet. The one thing I'll say about the shower is it's a good idea to take it down off here and either put a sock on it or get a basket for your bath mat, your shampoos and things, and put it in the basket on the floor so that it can't bounce out of where it normally sits and either the head can get damaged or it can damage the floor. That just goes in there. There is a magnetic latch down the side of the door there, and there's also a catch down the bottom, that little black thing there, which you can adjust how hard it catches by sliding it backwards and forwards, and there's a travel latch right there. So just for when you're travelling, that one there. Now it might look like a great fun thing to be able to lock people in the shower when they're inside, to put the travel lock on. Don't even think about it. There's a knob on the inside so they can open it from inside, so it won't work. But, good idea. Right, the footrest, back out into the main area of the caravan. So the way this works, lifts up like this, and we've got these brand new little sticky levers underneath, which pop up and goes like that. It's not for sitting on, it's only for putting your feet on. If you sit on it, kids decide to jump on it, you will break it. It's really just for putting your feet on, watching TV, having a glass of wine, coffee, whatever you like. To put it down, it's a really simple way. It's got two buttons on the ends, so if you just put your hands over the ends there, lift it up a fraction and squeeze the buttons and down it goes out of the way. The table, let's take this off. Gabby won't forgive me if I break it. And the way this works is we've got a lever over here under the table. So squeezing that lever releases the table so that it can slide, so it goes in all directions, and also spins. So I can have it over here like this. Makes it really easy for jumping into the corner here, or if you're cooking and you want to have it in a certain position, you've got some things over here, some things over there. That works really, really well. Now, the other function that this table does is it goes up and down, so it can be used as an extra bed. So the way that works, down here on the floor, we've got this black button. So all I do is I step on the button and lean on the table. Now I've got the lever in my hand so I can slide it and go all the way down until it locks in, and then slide it into position. And then the tick cushion, which comes with the caravan, just slides into there and that becomes an extra bed. So really simple. In the morning you want to put it back to normal, take off the topper or sheets or whatever you're using, step on the button, and there it is back up to normal. Slide it to wherever you want it. There you go, done. Okay, over here we've got another two USB charging points, reading lights. Excuse me.
Bless you.
And then let's have a quick look at our air conditioner. So this is the Dometic Ibis 4. This can be run off a 2 kVA generator. Now you can turn this on and off and control it by the touch screen here. So I've actually turned it on there. At the moment it's on 23 degrees on air conditioning. You can change the mode, you can change the temperature, and you can turn it on and off. Now it does have a... Turn off for me.
You're not meant to hold it, it's a quick touch.
Touch. There we go. So it's a knack that I haven't mastered yet. So that's the Dometic Ibis 4. It's probably easier to control it by the remote control, which we'll find in a minute. It works really, really well. It's soft on and off, so it's good for even at night time if you want to have it on. It won't be waking up thumping on and off like the old ones used to do. Last thing to have a look at in here is the hatches. So the way these hatches work, very similar to the windows. First thing is they've got lights on the sides, so that's there, and then they've got lockout blind, pulls across one way, and across the other way is our fly screen. And same as the windows, they're magnetic. The only thing to say with these is that it's important that they're open when you're travelling, and the reason for that is that if they're closed, big trucks come past, they can actually cause suction in the top, and they'll pull the blind or the fly wire into the top and it damages it. So when travelling, have the blind and the fly screen open. Now to open the hatch itself, these catches, they're like the window ones, except they've got locks on them. So you've got to push in that red button and turn it at the same time. That opens it, and then the handle just pulls down and pop the lid up. So you can have it in the fully open position like that, lots of airflow. Or if it's windy, we don't want as much airflow, you can pop it down onto those little supports there, and there's clips over the top which just turn like that, and they actually lock it in place. To put it back down, unlock, lift that up, pull down, and just make sure you lock it. So when you're travelling, make sure the lid's down, the latches are in place, and the blinds are open. So that's really the 17FT6 Feathertop. Awesome little caravan. The only other thing to talk about is maintenance. So we recommend that these caravans are serviced at least once every 12 months. When we service them, you don't have to bring them to us. We'd love that you would bring them to us. When you do bring them to us, we will check the smoke alarm battery, or replace the smoke alarm battery, and check the fire extinguisher. Then it's wheels off, brakes, drums off, bearings out. Bearings are either repacked or replaced, and brakes are adjusted, everything's put back together, handbrake is adjusted, and then we go over the whole caravan and just check. One more thing before we go over the whole caravan, just check, we pressure test the gas system. So that's really critical. If you're bouncing a caravan down the road, you've got gas connections, we do always pressure test the gas system, make sure there's no leaks. And then we go over the whole caravan and make sure that everything is working properly. And finally, after we finish, give it a wash and clean the solar panels up on the roof so that you're getting maximum charging from your solar panels. So we do recommend at least once every 12 months. If you decide to go to somewhere like Birdsville, we're doing a lot of unsealed roads, a lot of very fine dust, it's a good idea to give it a service afterwards so as to get all the dust and grit and everything out of the brakes and wheel bearings. So that's it. The only thing left to do is enjoy your new 17FT6 Hilltop Feathertop caravan.